I don't get this code. Explain to me what's going on. And the tutor would say, well, this. Well, ChatGPT is now your tutor. And to me, that would speed up my learning. That wouldn't be cheating, or that wouldn't be wrong in any way. It's like having a tutor right there beside you. What's up, everybody? It's Travis here from Travis.media. Today, we're talking about ChatGPT. And in this video, I'm gonna give you 12 real and practical use cases for ChatGPT as a developer. So if you're wondering, should you be using ChatGPT, whether you're a pro or a novice, I'm gonna answer your question. If you're wondering if AI is gonna take your job, I'm gonna answer that question. And then I'm gonna show you how you should be using this in your day-to-day work as a developer. So let's get started. So first up, the questions. Should you be using ChatGPT? Well, we have to break this into two camps. So there's the camp of developers that already have the job, they're already in the industry, they know how to code. And then there's the camp of those who are just learning to code. So let's start with those who have the experience first. Should you be using ChatGPT? 100% yes. These AI tools are there to help you. They're there to supplement your current skills and work as a developer. There's a quote out there going around, I don't know who it's attributed to, but everybody uses it and everybody makes it seem like they thought it up. But it goes something like this. AI will not take your job, but the developer using AI will take your job. And as cliche as that sounds, I think that's an accurate way to look at it. A tool like ChatGPT is there to make you a more efficient developer. It's there to help you move faster. It's there to help you write cleaner code. That AI isn't going to take your job. It still needs you to sort it all out. But the developer that uses it and uses it wisely will come along and do your job better than you. So it's my take that all developers should be finding a way to utilize this AI to do things faster and better and cleaner. So should you be using it as an experienced developer? Yes, you should. And I'm going to show you how today. I'm going to give you examples. And here's another take that I have on it. Technology is moving so fast as of late, right? There's so much stuff coming out, so much stuff to learn, especially if you're a DevOps engineer or a site reliability engineer. There's just so much to take in. And management is just pushing you to get things done faster. AI tools like ChatGPT enable developers to actually keep up with that pace. I'm not saying that pace is a good thing, but these AI tools at least equip developers with a helping hand to lessen negative repercussions like burnout. And as I give these examples, you'll see exactly what I mean. But that's my take. Tech is moving so fast, faster than we can do it. ChatGPT pulls us up to that level, lets us keep up with that demand. Again, I'm not saying that pace is a good thing, it's just where we're at. It levels the playing field and lessens negative repercussions like burnout. Now, what if you're still learning to code? You're learning to code, you're not in the industry yet. Should you be using ChatGPT? And the answer is very minimally. You don't need it for a lot because you gotta learn the technology first. These AI tools that spit out code for you, if you can't read it, if you can't tweak it, if you don't really know what you're doing, it's not helpful to you. But if you're learning to code, I think a good use case is to let ChatGPT explain code to you. Maybe that's a good practice. Take a big block of Python if you're learning Python, feed it to ChatGPT and say, explain this to me, and see how it works. Find some good code written by good people, have it explained to you, and I think that would be a good learning tool. But make sure your use of it's limited until you understand the technology. And again, as I go through these, I'll point out what's good for experienced developers, what's good for novices, whatever. So let's look at them. So one caveat before I get started, I did screenshots of these because, as you know, ChatGPT is often at capacity if you use the free version. There's a $20, I think it's $20 a month. To pay for it, you don't get this problem, but I don't pay for it, so sometimes when I pull it up, it's at capacity and I have to wait to use it. So I didn't want to film this video and it'd be at capacity and I'd have to do it some other time. So I went through, I did all these prompts, and I'm going to show them as screenshots. But the first example we're going to look at is Twitter. Now, I know this isn't coding related, but I wanted to get this out the way first because many of you developers are on Twitter and you like the engagement on Twitter and you tweet often. So one good use case for ChatGPT is to come up with tweets. Now, I know you might think, hey, Travis, Twitter's a real place. We don't want all these robots posting stuff. And I agree with you. But if you tweet multiple times a day and you like to schedule them ahead of time and you just need ideas of what to tweet, you can do something like this. So I asked it here 4 questions. Give me a good engaging tweet about GPT-4, which is like the next iteration of ChatGPT that just came out. It gave me an answer here that's really robotic. I didn't like it. So I said, give me a fun fact about JavaScript. That could be a tweet. This was good. Did you know that JavaScript was created in just 10 days back in May 1995? Talk about a coding sprint. And then you can get more specific. Give me a tip about Kubernetes that I can put in a tweet with the question at the end of it for engagement. And it gave this nice example with a question at the end. What are some other ways to optimize Kubernetes resource usage? And then there's another question here that's kind of the same thing. So use case number 1, use it for Twitter. Next up, and I think this is a wonderful use case, is write an Amazon policy allowing SSM to read and write to an S3 bucket. I don't know about you, but I hate writing AWS policies. I always have to look it up. I always have to copy and paste from some page and tweak it. So I will always use ChatGPT to create bucket policies or any AWS policy. Here, it not only gives you the policy, which is accurate, except for you need to update the bucket name, but it tells you how to create the policy. Third, and probably a more popular use case, is to write code for you. So if you're a developer, experienced developer, not a newbie, still learning, if you're an experienced developer, you're in the industry, you really should never write code from scratch. I don't see any reason why anybody would do that anymore. Prior to this, we all went to Stack Overflow anyway and copied it and pasted it and tweaked it. Now we can actually get a better version that's more accurate and then copy and paste this and tweak it. I think in 2023, nobody should be writing code from scratch. If you understand the code, you're able to write it from scratch, you know you can do that, then move on to the next step and generate some templates to start with. So the example here is, I think I cut off the question, but I asked it to give me an example of a React functional component called addNote that uses Google Firebase to add a new note. So the key is to ask specifically. So if I'm creating a note app and I'm using Firebase to store my data and it's going to be in React and I know I want a functional component, I'm going to give it all of that information. So if you look at this, it's dead on. I got my imports, I got my addNote function, and then I got my form down here. And it actually explains to you what it did. And I think that's the most popular use case, to write the code for you. It's not always right, but the more you feed it, the better outcome you'll get. Now you're gonna have to take this and fit it in your React project and make it work, but this will get you 50% there. Again, don't write this from scratch, generate the template. And then still on the same vibe here, not number 4, this is still number 3. Because ChatGPT remembers your chat, you can ask it to do things to its last answer. So what I did here is I said, hey, update this React code to work with the material design UI components. So here it says, sure, here's an updated version of the addNote component that uses material UI components. So you see import of text field and button from the material package. And if you scroll down, you'll see it use that on the form. Here's the text field, here's the button component. So if it generates some code and you're like, oh wait, we're using this material UI package for our CSS, then just ask it again. Hey, redo that with material UI included. All right, number 4, explain the code to me. So I got this code, I just can't quite figure out what it does. Or I'm someone learning to code and I can't figure out what this code does. ChatGPT, explain to me what it does. So right here, I have this file of code written in Go. And I used it on a previous YouTube video where I created this birthday automation where I add people's birthdays to a CSV, and each day it checks to see if it's somebody's birthday and it'll text them for me. I'll put a link above if you're interested in building that. But here I just put it in there and said, explain to me what this code does. If you go down, it says this code is written in Go and uses the AWS Lambda and Twilio APIs to send birthday greetings via text message to people whose birthdays are stored in a CSV file. Exactly right. And it goes on to explain what all of the code does. Defines a struct within the send a birthday greeting function, the Twilio API. It explains the code to me. So that's use case 4. If you don't know what some code does or just need more clarification, ask it to explain code to you. And again, if you're learning to code, it's like having a tutor sitting there beside you. If you had a tutor, you would say, hey, I don't get this code. Explain to me what's going on. And the tutor would say, well, this. Well, ChatGPT is now your tutor. And to me, that would speed up my learning. That wouldn't be cheating or that wouldn't be wrong in any way. It's like having a tutor right there beside you. Number 5, you can use it to refactor your code. Maybe your code's sloppy and you want it to refactor it to make it a little cleaner. ChatGPT will do that for you. So I used to do these katas on Code Wars. And here's just an example of one. It was called highest scoring word or something like that. But anyway, I took my answer, which is pretty long, and looks like it could be refactored. And what it does, it not only refactors it, but it explains to you each step that it took to clean it up. So here's my code, my long code there. Here's what it suggested. Do this instead. And it's like 6 lines less than what I did. But then it says changes made. Rename the X to text for clarity. That's a good idea. Used const instead of let. Simplified the loop change the loop, remove the max count array since it's not needed. So I think it did a really good job of refactoring my code. So if you got some sloppy code or just want to see if you can make it cleaner so that your senior devs think you're awesome, ChatGPT. Number 6, it can find bugs in your code. So if you're running something and you're getting errors and you just can't figure out where you went wrong in your code, it can help you find the problem. And by the way, when I did the screenshots, it would scroll down the page, and because this search bar is at the bottom, it would reprint it. So if you see that, it's just part of the screenshot that messed up. But it's not going to get in the way because we're not really reading the code. We're just going over examples. So anyway, here I said, my CloudFormation template is not working properly. Can you point out the bug for me? Here it is. And I pasted in the CloudFormation template, and it's literally like a VPC, a subnet, an EC2 instance, some route tables, things like that. And ChatGPT says, it looks like there's a syntax error in the instance security group resource. You are missing the key instance ID after the ref VPC. So if you scroll up and you find my instance security group, you'll see it says VPC ID, reference is, and then it's blank. Nothing's there. That's my problem. So it actually reprinted it. Down here where it says instance security group, beside the VPC ID, they have added the VPC reference, which would reference the VPC resource up here. So you can use it often to catch bugs. It's not always going to work, but it worked in this example and ultimately saves you time. All right, number 7, you can ask it to make your code more efficient. So you can ask it to refactor, but then you can say, hey, speed this up a little bit, which may be part of refactoring. But you can ask it, can you make this code run faster? So I pasted in another thing that I did on Code Wars, and if I scroll down, it says one possible way to improve the performance is to eliminate the use of the delete operator, which can be slow. Instead of deleting elements from the numbers object, we can create a new object, blah, blah, blah. We can also combine the loops that tally the scores for triple numbers and rest of the numbers into a single loop to avoid iterating over the same array twice. Sounds more efficient to me. Here's a modified version of the code that implements these changes. So it gives me the same code with the changes that it suggested. This code should be faster than the original implementation, especially for arrays with many elements. So number 7, if you have some code that's running slow or taking too much time, ask ChatGPT to make it more efficient. Number 8, how about YAML, like Kubernetes manifests? If you need to create a Kubernetes manifest from scratch, don't do it. Get a template first. Here I said, create a Kubernetes manifest for deploying the MySQL container with high availability. So your boss says, hey, we need a MySQL container deployed in Kubernetes, and we need it to be HA. So I just asked ChatGPT, sure, here's an example for deploying a MySQL container with high availability. And here it is. They give me a stateful set, which would be correct. I got 3 replicas. I would have to do something with this password, put it somewhere else, but anyway, this looks correct to me. This manifest creates a stateful set with 3 replicas, and you can read all that here. And note that this is just an example manifest. You may need to adjust it based on your specific requirements and environment. That's the key. You're gonna take this, you're gonna put it in your code editor, and then you're gonna think about your environment and how to best fit this in. It's like Stack Overflow. You would do the same thing there. You're just getting a starting point. That's all you're doing. It's making you more efficient. You're going to take this, tweak it, and deploy it. And you couldn't do this if you didn't know Kubernetes manifests, if you didn't know YAML, if you didn't know MySQL. This is not for you. But if you do, and you could do this from scratch, you can really step up your game by starting with a template. All right, number 9, GitHub READMEs. So I created a little sample app a while back called YouTube Stats, and I used it for a React tutorial in a past video. But anyway, here I thought, let's see if it can create a nice README for me. And you know, when you push some code to GitHub, you hate to write READMEs. So let's see how this does. Write a GitHub README for my new project, YouTube Stats. This project was written in React and displays all of the tags of a YouTube channel that you look up. So I'm telling it what it does and the name. You have to supply the channel ID and it'll return all of the tags that they used in the video. To get started, just clone the repo, npm install, add your API key to the env file, and run npm start to run the app. So I'm hoping that it's going to take all of that, write out my steps. So down here, YouTube Stats, it tells what it does, which I told it. Getting started, it puts some code blocks, npm install, npm start, and it talks about my API key, good. Usage, it explains the usage, and contributions are welcome. We want people to add to this app. And then the license is a nice to have. So I think it did a pretty good job. And for those who hate writing GitHub READMEs, this could be a good use case. Number 10, infrastructure as code templates. Like nobody likes writing a CloudFormation template from scratch. Me, I always go somewhere and copy somebody's, and then I'll go from there and I'll see the documentation and tweak it as needed. But ChatGPT was actually pretty accurate on a pretty detailed prompt here. So I said, write a CloudFormation template that will create a VPC at this IP range, internet gateway, 2 subnets, 1 public, 1 private, a route table, an internet route, an instance security group with port 22, open to the world, and an Amazon Linux 2 instance. And then I wanted to give it some parameters. Make the instance type a parameter and the AMI a parameter. And it said, sure, here it is. And it went over everything I asked it, and it did a great job. My parameters, I have instance type and AMI. So I'll be able to choose that when I launch an instance with this template. And I have my resources, my VPC, my internet gateway, public subnet, private subnet, route table, internet route for the route table, referencing the internet gateway, my instance security group with 22 open to the world, and my EC2 instance. And it has some explanation down here at the bottom. So that's a really good use case. Think Terraform, think CloudFormation, think Pulumi, infrastructure as code. Number 11, getting ChatGPT to summarize long articles for you. So I never really talk about it, but I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, and I really like the articles that come out at swanbitcoin.com. And they sent me one the other day that I wanted to read, but then I opened it up and it said, 39 minutes read. I mean, really? And so I started scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and was like, I just can't read this. As much as I want to read it, I need the TLDR. And I thought, hey, ChatGPT. So I prompted ChatGPT and said, can you please summarize this article for me? I gave it the link, and here it is. This article discusses the implications of blah, 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 blah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. And I found the 5 paragraphs helpful. I don't know how accurate it was because I wasn't going to read this 40-minute read. I didn't have time for it. But if you ever find an article that's just too long, somebody sends it to you from work, or there's some PDF or something, you just don't have time to read it, but you want to know the gist of it, plug it into ChatGPT, ask it to give you the TLDR. Too long, didn't read. And the 12th and final use case for ChatGPT is for writing blog posts. Now, you don't want to copy and paste this, but it gives you an idea of the points you should hit in writing a blog post about a certain topic. So here I said, write a short blog post on the benefits of using OIDC over SAML. Or maybe that's something you want to know and just want the quick answer. But here it gives you an intro paragraph and then 5 points as to why OIDC may be better than SAML with a closing paragraph as well. So if you're a blogger and you're looking for blog ideas on certain topics, try this out. Prompt ChatGPT to give you a short blog post. And as a bonus, we can ask it to give us a dad joke for our daily stand-up. So give me a developer dad joke I can use in my daily stand-up today. Make it funny. And ChatGPT says, sure, here's a joke for you. So, why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs. Pretty funny. So if you need a good laugh for your stand-up, ChatGPT will give you that as well. All right, so there's a lot more that we could say. ChatGPT isn't perfect. It still makes mistakes. It will continue to make mistakes. But if you have a skill set and you're able to detect those mistakes, and those mistakes are only 5% of what you need, then you've got a 95% efficiency by using it. So it's my opinion that all developers in the industry should be using it in some way. I've given you 12 ways that I think are helpful. If you're still learning to code and you haven't nailed down the concepts yet, you haven't learned a programming language, you haven't built some apps yet, you haven't built any projects, then don't worry about it. Use it as a tutor to help you along the way, but whatever it gives you, you're not going to be able to take and understand yet. So make sure you're getting the coding fundamentals down and don't depend on ChatGPT to give you the answers. Please don't do that. Learn to do it first and then utilize ChatGPT as a helper once you're in the industry. And as for AI taking your job, I think the saying holds weight. It's not the AI that's going to take your job. It's the developer using AI. If you're not using it, you're going to fall behind because tech is moving fast, the demand is heavy. You need tools like this to make you more efficient. Now, before I end this, I can hear this question from many of you. Hey, I'm learning to code. I want to switch careers. I'm in the middle of learning Python or whatever. Is it worthwhile now that there's AI? Is it still realistic that I can get a job with AI doing half of the people's work that are already out there? And it's a valid question. If you want to put in all of that work, you want some kind of assurance that it's worth it in an industry of AI, in growing AI. In my opinion on that is that it's still 100% worth it. I think technology, like I was saying earlier, technology is moving so fast. AI brings us up to that level, but it still requires people to know code. And with all of the technology moving so fast, there's more and more need for developers and IT professionals and cybersecurity people and DevOps engineers and SREs. And I think with all of the demand and just the way like the world is technology now, it's everywhere, it's just going to require more and more people. So I personally, if I was learning to code now and I was worried about that, I would tell myself, if I was giving myself advice, to keep moving. Keep learning the material, stay focused on that path, put in the work, land the job, understand what you're doing, and then pull in that AI to help you out and make you more efficient. I mean, if we get to a point where AI gets so advanced that it's doing developers' jobs, then developers and IT professionals will then be at a higher level to where they're doing the next step of work. That's the way I see it. Things are going to advance and move us all up, and anybody who's learning is just going to come up there as well, and we'll all be working in that next stage of technology, whatever that is. So hey, let's discuss it in the comments. If you got questions, leave me a comment. If you just want to share some kind of truth, then please do in the comments. If you found this video helpful, I'd love for you to give a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.